Welcome to Team 1's presentation. Today we will be discussing Evolution of Situational Leadership Theory, a Critical Review by Claude Graff. And basically, the situational leadership theory is a model that was published in the late 1960s, and since this publication, it has undergone multiple changes and revisions to improve the model over time, which we will discuss throughout our presentation. So the first slide, the introduction on situational leadership theory. So this theory basically it's a two-factor theory that describes leadership style and how it's composed of combinations of two main variables. These two variables include task behaviors and relationship behaviors. This is further divided into subgroups, as you can see by the figure, including participating, selling, delegating, and telling styles. In the 1970s, 1980s, Hersey and Blanchard, the two that developed this model, they came up with their own slightly different versions of this model. One of them is called just the Situational Leadership Model, and the other is called Situational Leadership 2 Model. In the second model, the authors revised the original model. Overall, this model has become one of the most popular leadership models in history, and the article that we will present in the remaining slides will track the evolution of this particular model, discussing conceptual developments, empirical studies, challenges, or ongoing problems that the model currently faces.
Different styles of leadership are necessary for different types of situations and groups. The situational leadership theory proposes that leaders should change their style of leadership according to each situation. Essentially, everything depends on the specific situation, which is why they collaborated to develop the situational leadership model. The behavioral leadership theory mainly tells about how a good leader behaves. It specifies that leaders are made, but not born. They are made by teaching and observing. Behavioral theories focus on how leaders behave with their people in the team. This theory assumes that leadership capabilities can be learned rather than being inherited. The participative leadership process involves people, leads to understanding, and leads to commitment. In participative leadership, a leader consults his or her team members before making decisions. This can help the team members to understand which goals are important and foster a sense of ownership and commitment to reach them. With the delegating leadership approach, employees are led but may not need much direction. For example, this style of leadership can be experienced in a manufacturing setup where leaders let their team members or followers run their projects and do not have much involvement because their team can produce the results.
Situational Leadership 2 is a model developed by Paul Hersey and Ken Blanchard. This was a modification of the original model, Situation Leadership 1. We won't be discussing the differences between these two models today, but this can be referenced in the article assigned for Module 5. As we discussed, leaders need to adapt their methods of engagement and motivation based on the different leadership situations and groups. In Situational Leadership 2 model, it's believed that the type of leadership style used should be based on the person's level of development. The level of development is based on two domains: 1, competence, and 2, commitment. Competence is defined as knowledge and skills that are gained from education, training, or work experience. Commitment is defined as a person's degree of confidence in themselves and their skills and their motivation to do the work. According to Hersey and Blanchard, they argue that there are 4 levels of development. Looking at the image, we'll be starting from the right side with the red block. Development level 1, or D1, is considered to be low competence with high commitment. You can imagine these may be new trainees, like new college graduate students, who have low skill but are very excited to start a new job. Development level 2 are those with low or some competence with low commitment. These are individuals that have some knowledge and some moderate level of skill, but may have low commitment because they're getting frustrated that they are not learning fast enough or simply being overwhelmed with the amount of information that we are providing them. Development level 3 are those with high competence with low or variable commitment. These may be individuals who are competent and have the skills to get the job done, but they're at a point where they're still a little bit hesitant with their abilities, or they're just starting to get bored with what they're doing because it seems like they're starting to plateau or at the ceiling of what they can achieve. Finally, with development level 4, these are those with high competence with high commitment. These are those with who are essentially highly independent experts in their fields who are highly motivated and highly committed to their job and just looking to get the job done for self-fulfillment. These individuals tend to be self-learners or the all-stars of our teams. Once we've determined what stage of development our employee or team member is in, we need to select the appropriate leadership style to support them and help them progress in their development. The chart to the right here reflects 4 different leadership styles, which are 1, direction, 2, coaching, 3, supporting, and 4, delegating. In this chart, the x-axis is the level of direction behavior, which is how much direction you need to provide an individual. High directive behavior may involve telling someone exactly what to do and how to complete a task. It's a bit more like micromanaging. The y-axis is the amount of supportive behaviors given by a leader, which may include listening, asking for input, encouraging the individual, praising them for their work, and taking time to explain why they are being assigned a certain task or why the task is important for the team. As you may have guessed, the colors in the graph correspond with those in the development level image to your left and also on the previous slide. And so trying to apply this model, if you're a new college graduate and if on your team you have a new college graduate and they are in level D1 of development, they may respond best to S1 directing leadership. It may be best to tell them exactly what you need, how to do it, so that it can help them get their feet wet as they start developing their skills and developing their own style as well as developing their own ideas. For those that are in development level D3, the supporting leadership style may be best, where you're assigning them a task and offering them your help, but trusting the individual to carry out the task independently. You may still have weekly or monthly check-ins to get updates on the projects, and also just offer an opportunity to provide your advice, but also providing support in terms of encouragement, trying to keep the person engaged.
As the article states, there is no consensus of the empirical work completed nor validity of the theory, while other authors state that over 50 dissertations, master's theses, and research papers have been written using the tools presented. The consensus theme in the article, though, has been relatively negative, as inconsistencies are highlighted throughout the article. One study states that a study by Blanchard, Zagarmi, and Zagarmi, in their book, A Test of Situational Leadership Theory, The Personal Psychology, it failed to find support for the theorist's assumptions regarding the relationship and leader task and relationship behaviors with indicants of leader effectiveness, and failed to find support for the more complex predictions of the theory. Another item highlighted is their book, Leadership and the 1-Minute Manager, where the language was completely updated to reflect current buzzwords of the era, to include management fad gimmicks. Aside from the cosmetic changes that have been added, which have been previously stated, key concepts being relabeled to target management fads, buzzwords, all in an attempt to help popularity. The biggest problem was the lack of foundation found in the relationships of the model. One would suspect that D2, for example, would precede D1 and the development levels. The comments made at the very beginning, I believe, captures perfectly the findings shared in this article, where it states evolution of the situational leadership theory is reviewed in relation to conceptual developments associated with the theory and published empirical work testing the theory. Overall, its theoretical robustness and pragmatic utility are challenged because of logical and internal inconsistencies, conceptual ambiguity, and incompleteness and confusion associated with the multiple versions of the model. There are conflicting guidelines. The fact of the changing of the words or the key concepts to meet the latest trends just capitalizes on the shaky foundation in which it seems that the theory was constructed on.